Architectural Builders Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
The position in and out on the jam. And
four doors. You want
right.
4 doors, and they're going to be flush with the wall. Okay.
Yes. So I guess I was looking at the Rixson 117. It seemed like that'd be the proper hinge for that application.
Well, I wouldn't say it would be improper.
Okay. Do you have one you'd recommend?
Well, I mean, what if not the 117? Why wouldn't it work? Does it meet the requirements of the application?
Yeah, I guess that's my question.
I'm sorry?
I guess that's my question. Seems like there's so many options.
Okay, well, I mean, it'll do what you said. You know, it'll hang doors. The fact that they're flush with the wall, sure, that's no problem. Generally, so who selected the 117? Did you select that?
Yeah, just looking online at the Rixson catalog.
So, what's the goal? What's the client trying to achieve?
Well, it's kind of it's a nickel gap door. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term. But essentially, it's a door with a bunch of little gaps in it to make it look like it's planks. And he wants to have very minimal reveals on all 4 sides, really. So a center pivot would have to create that radius, and especially in the middle 2 doors, that would be a problem.
Well, no, not exclusively. I mean, if you look in catalogs from the 19th century, those guys were, they were skinning cats many ways that people today have forgotten how to do. So you could actually keep a square edge door and then, modify your jam substantially. But these are 2 pair of doors is what it is?
Well, yeah, it's essentially 4 doors, but with no jack or kings in between them. So the opening would be like a 6 foot, or the opening would be an 8-foot opening for 4 2-foot doors.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like just a wall of doors, Yeah, I know. It's tricky.
Yeah. Well, it's, I don't know if it's tricky. How thick are the doors?
1 3/4 inches.
Okay. So center hung is not an option because of your inner 2 doors. Offset is not ideal because you're taking what the client wants as basically an invisible look and then tossing all this massive hardware to it.
He did say he liked seeing that hardware on the bottom.
Disagree. That's a lot of hardware. People don't realize how big a 117 is, and that's a small pivot. But yeah, I hear you. Is there an opportunity? You'll have a jam strip up at the header, obviously.
Yeah, so it's also supposed to be this flush, modern condition. So essentially, I'll have an MDO jam painted the wall color that we'll be mortising into, and then the drywaller will tape to the MDO. There won't be any trim to speak of.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. What's the chance of changing the door thickness to 1 3/8?
Oh, would that be helpful?
Oh, yeah. So
in terms of the beveling?
So you shouldn't. You probably won't bevel very much. If you change the doors to 1 3/8, you could very easily solve this, assuming that you can mount to the floor with a Stanley 340 pivot. It's exactly what you need. It's perfectly suited for what you're doing. Could you make a thicker door work on it? I mean, I'd want to toss that into AutoCAD, but you won't open the two center doors simultaneously with a thicker door, most likely.
Yeah, no, we can do an 1 3/8 door easily. I have no limit there.
Yeah.
1 3/8 would be fine.
Can you pull up the Stanley 340? So from our site, absupply.net, it's just Stanley 340. Yeah, that's so it's the same concept of your 117 solution. It's just there's a lot less that you're going to see, number one, and a whole lot less costly.
Yeah, man, those Rixons are ridiculous.
Well, you don't. I mean, I love me Rixson. I do. I've got a pivot in stock that is a $10,000 pivot. I mean, it's 8 feet from my head right now. It's just it's not the best piece of hardware for what you are doing. Now, if you could change the design, like add a center jamb, you could go with Sauce, and that would cure the potential problem.
I suggested that to him. He did not. He does not want to. He wants just all. He just wants to see 4 doors.
So whose problem is it going to be if the doors warp? Because pivots without an intermediate, you don't get any warranty. And if you're making the doors, that hangman's noose is around your neck. And 1 out of 10 doors are going to be warped. Having manufactured doors myself for years, so that's the hardware. What's permissible, agreeable, acceptable does need to take a knee, so to speak, to, hey, listen, is this in your best interest? So I would incorporate that into it. Now, because your doors need to be true plumb level and square. That's the whole look. That's the look. And these pivots will do it. We sell them all the time, but you do have to contend with that. I mean, I've manufactured doors out of T111. I've manufactured doors just out of mortise, what you're doing to make it look like a plank, except the cork or the mortise was half by half. And those suckers bowed so bad, I had to get 1/8 1x1 steel angle and apply them to the inside face to draw the doors tight. It's hard to straighten out one of those things when you get them built.
Yeah. Well, I'm on your website. On your website now, I'm at the Hinge Pivots page. Is that the right place to be?
Now, in the search top center, type in Stanley, and then the number 340. Stanley space 340.
Got it. Okay.
Now, when you click on any of those, you can also, when you click on any of them, you can scroll down, and then there's the cut sheet, the product catalog, installation instructions. There's a video of me blabbing on endlessly about the hardware. But it's just the installation instructions is really what you'll want to look at first. And yeah, it's an offset pivot, so you're going to see hardware, but my goodness, you're going to see a lot less of it.
I see. That's for a 75-pound door. I think these are going to be heavier than that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll need to be mindful about the weight as well. I wouldn't want to grossly exceed that. I know people have hung these on 308s, so it's, I know people are doing it on doors 50% heavier than that.
Got it. Okay. Oh, interesting. There's a lot less complicated.
Avoid particle board if you can. But I would revisit the sauce thing, because doors warp, especially ones that are made like what you're doing. You've got different densities of wood that are absorbing and releasing moisture at different rates. So, some are so severely warped that there's nothing that can be done with them. They have to be replaced. The sauce are nice because if you added that jamb, which should be no major big deal because you're not interrupting the look really. I mean, you're not only working towards solving the warping potential problem, but the door's hung properly at that point. And then, how are you going to keep the doors in the closed position? You could do a ball catch up with a jamb. Yeah, ball catch is cool. The new stuff now, you don't want a ball catch. What all the cool kids are using is so first of all, I've got a really fancy touch latch that's used in the aircraft industry, but they're a fortune.
What do you use for that? Because I'm always looking for those touch latches.
Oh, this is like a $280 touch latch.
Yeah,
so these are really cool to the point where not that I can't keep enough in stock, but I'm surprised as to how often I'm reordering them. If you type in, it's not appropriate for this job in my opinion, but I don't know I haven't seen a drawing. But if you search for St. Louis, just like the city, if you look for St. Louis, and you search that, you'll see the touch latch, and it's really the people who make this. They don't make builders hardware. This is meant to go on $100 million Learjets. That's where these go with other stuff. Their fit and finish is phenomenal. Where I used to buy them from, stopped buying them from this manufacturer, and they went with something else that another hardware company makes. And I've got one on my desk, and it's patently inferior and costs more. So yeah, it's got great pull strength. It's super good extension. It's got like a 1-inch throw.
Oh, this is cool because I actually have some exterior hidden doors that it's like some access doors, and I've been using that the Tsunasugi version of this, but it's a little underwhelming.
Sugatsuni's awesome stuff. It's just no touch latches hold a candle to this, and the quality, the fit and finish, and of course the price tag. They're a fortune. But when what's really out, people must be getting it because there are people who buy 6 at a time, and I'm thinking, my goodness. And I'll tell you this, at $257, I'm not making a lot of money on that. They cost that much to begin with. So anyway, back to your project. If you were to search for the words precision lock, what you're going to find is a way to hold those doors in the closed position, and ain't no one going to know how you're doing it. So if you scroll down to like the 6th item down, go to the 6th item down. It's about $46, and you click on that. And
what do I do here?
Down, you'll see it.
Precision lock, and I got $1,600. Where am I at?
PRECISION, CISION LOCK.
Extra heavy duty concealed magnetic patch with adjustable strength.
Yeah. So you're gonna get your Forstner bit and drill some holes up, or your router, whatever you're doing, and you're gonna screw one of these magnets onto the top of the door and in the underside of the header, and man, it's perfect.
Cool.
It'll have the right hole strength to pull to keep your door closed. Like a dog or a cat or something, or a breeze won't dislodge that. So that could be cool. That could be a good way to do this as well.
Neat. That's really cool.
Okay. I shoehorn sauce into it because I'm very biased. The product, the people, I've been selling it for decades, 3+ decades, and they refuse to make 3-way adjustable versions of that stuff. And I agree. I think if you know how to measure and how to use a router, you don't need to XYZ adjust your hinge location. But yeah, I think you've got some stuff to think about there.
Okay. So yeah, you're not. I did have that same question about the intermediate pivot hinges there, because these are 7-foot tall doors. I think they said over 6'8" they wanted to see one.
No, it's not. That's not how that works. Over 60 inch and over is when you have to, according to the industry published, governing documents. It's always 60 inch. And then for every 30 additional inch, you add one. So a 6'8" or a 7'0" or a 7'6", those are going to have a top and bottom in the middle. You get to 90 inch and above, you'll add 2, and then 120 and above, you'll add another one. You'll add one. Yeah.
So when I'm doing this, when I'm looking at, excuse me if I can take a step back here, I actually went to a heavier duty Stanley. Is it given the model number here? The 327.
327. Yeah. So the problem with the 327 is when you look at the instructions, what are you going to attach that to in the center doors?
That vertical portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
Now,
I see that now.
I suppose if you were to get your, portable hacksaw, powered hacksaw, and trim some of that off and modify it, the advantage of that is you'll get a greater offset dimension from the back of the hinge. Well, I mean, it's, yeah. Let me pull that back. Let me look how much modification. Yeah, you could go to the. Yeah, it's just not. It's not meant. No, it's just not really gonna. That'd be really risky.
Yeah,
A lot of cutting
I don't want to do
angle
risky.
off and attaching it to the header. I think that would shift laterally over time. You got a lot of weight, and you're only going to be able to fit 2 fasteners in there. I don't think now, adding a jam strip, obviously, on your outside, then in the center, you'd need a mullion is what you need in the center.
Right now, tell me about it.
But at the end of the day, that may not be so awful, because when you if in your mind's eye, think about those 2 inner doors and swing them to 90 degrees so they're parallel, you're going to have door thickness times 2 plus the gap between the 2 doors. I'd have to draw that to know what that dimension is. It may not be the end of the world. I don't know that it gives you an advantage, except that the 327 is a bigger pivot in terms of weight rating.
Right. I do like the price tag on that. My tendency is always to kind of go bigger on hardware for longevity's sake.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Boy, the 117 would sure give you that. I wouldn't. I'm very partial to Rixson for lots of reasons, but I wouldn't suggest Rixson because of the Rixson tax. I would use ABH, or I would use Dorma, even Ives. Probably not Ives, but I would certainly use ABH. And their part number is, are you ready for it? 0117.
No, I'm looking at it right now. It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, so that's essentially the same thing, just a more reasonably priced.
It's Kit Shaw started ABH in about 91. I met him at about 91, and he was an engineer at Rixson. So you'll see a lot of correlation between pivot part numbers of Rixson's and his.
Got it.
So, yeah, I haven't spoken to the man in many, many years, but his son is in the business. Very nice people. All their people there are nice.
Okay, so I guess I have to go back to the architect and say, hey, if you want to continue with the pivot route. Oh, let me ask you this too. What he wants to do is set that bottom plate for the bottom pivot to the subfloor, somewhere below the finish floor, so we can hide that plate. I did see the Rixsons had spindle adapters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can order longer bottom spindles. That would be your application would be an exact reason to do that. Your future self may not appreciate hiding those if you ever have to service the hardware, but it's going to be disassembly of the top pivot and then tipping the door out and lifting it off, so you should never have to get to the bottom floor portion.
Right.
But if you're going to bury that, yeah, you're going to need a longer spindle. If you're going to kick that, under half inch,
Well, I'm imagining the flooring installer choking me because he's got to somehow figure out how to get a tongue and groove together with a notch around these spindles. But got
a notch around it. Yeah, he's got and you got to be there while he's doing it. You got to have your top pivots installed, and you have to have your quick spotter ready. You got to actually have that tool. It's basically a plumb bob that connects up to the top pivot. and you've got to get that to the subfloor, and plus the subfloor has to be the right thing to use to attach to. You know, if it's just what's the subfloor? Is it going to be OSB or something like that?
Yeah, Advantech.
How does that work?
3/4 Advantech. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want lateral shifting over time because you're screwing to something that's really not meant to hold hardware.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yep.
You know,
we could always put some reinforcement below. We don't want to get on that. You know,
yeah.
Screw a 2x4 below. What was that? Pivot alignment tool called?
Quick Spotter. It's a Quick Spotter.
Why do you prefer that over? You prefer that over a dot laser?
Well, I MIG weld, and it's because that's how I learned. I don't oxyacetylene because I was never, you know what I mean? You use the tool that you like. A laser to me, yes, but I'm always nervous about getting it positioned super level. And if your vertical axis of pivoting is not true plumb level and square, the door is going to do weird things. Yeah, and it'll even do weird things in January versus August. It's like the actual changing of the angle of the Earth actually affects it. But I can look at a plumb bob, and even a guy from Chicago like me can say, "Yep, that's where I want to put it." Anyway, but yeah, I've not used a laser level for doing that. I've used it for other, like putting up pictures, you know, and aligning a row of shelving. I've used it for that because I can toss that line, you know, a few dozen yards down the room. It helps to turn the lights off with that.
Well, you know, I'm a little bit colorblind, so I have to sell out the extra money for the green laser.
Yeah, for the cool green one.
yeah.
Well, my email's under contact us in the upper right-hand corner. It's the sales email there. Drop me an email. I will send you back a link to all the stuff we've blabbed on about, and you know, let me know what to do. Let me know how to help.
Great. And I'm sorry, I never caught your name.
Richard.
Richard. Got it. Thanks, Richard. I'm Chris.
Yep. Awesome.
Great. I'll send you over.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.